Good morning, everyone. There should be a copy of the text that Rinpoche will be teaching on today at your space or on your table from Milarepa Songs of Realization. If there's anyone who still needs one, there are a few up here, so if you don't have one, please come up and get one. There's still a few more here. And then we'll begin with our opening prayers this morning in our blue book, in the blue prayer book. On page 12. The 7 branches of the mantra that are called the Sirkangma. I gaze upon the Supreme Self-Arisen Lama, seated on the immutable, spontaneously established throne, here in the mandala of primordially pure mind as it is, in the supreme palace of all the victorious ones of the 3 times. I gaze upon the Supreme Lama, who is meaningful to behold. The instant I behold that great bliss of Dharmadhatu, I cross the vast ocean of samsara and arrive at the blissful, pure ground. With the eye of wisdom I gaze unwaveringly upon the Lama, the victorious hero in the battle. Just by remembering that refuge, all afflicting emotions, thoughts, and the hordes of Maras are defeated. In your body, the victorious ones of the 3 times of all 10 directions appear together with their offspring. With joy I gaze upon your body, adorned with all the major and minor marks, seated on the throne of fearlessness, lotus, sun, and moon. 3 kayas, nature of the mind, Vajradhara, you are inseparable from great bliss. Bowing down to you with innumerable bodies like cloud banks, yearning with a full voice, I prostrate and go for refuge. Your body, the nature of precious bodhicitta, is inseparable from all the victorious ones of the three times. Thus, all Buddha fields are permeated by your body, and within your body all Buddha fields appear. I bow down to the glorious one. With your flawless, melodious speech, like an ocean of ambrosia, you show all phenomena to be unborn, thereby defeating the Mount Meru of views. I prostrate to your unhindered Vajra speech. In the mandala of immutable mind beyond thought, you never move from the equanimity state of Dharma Dhatu, yet you hold the wisdom power of knowing the three times. I prostrate to the spontaneously established non-duality. Even if expressed during all oceans of kalpas, by all the victorious ones without exception, the qualities of your body, speech, and mind would not be completed. I prostrate to you who possess the limitless qualities. Until the ocean of samsara is exhausted, you perform the supreme activities that ripen all sentient beings. I prostrate to you, the Lama who is manifold, effortlessly arising, unceasing, supreme refuge. Oceans of emanated offerings to you delight the victorious ones and ripen all sentient beings. Having completely filled the Dharma Dhatu, I make this unsurpassing offerings unceasingly. From the heart palace of the great being radiates the light of immeasurable bodhicitta. Thus, in all the pure lands of the 10 directions, innumerable, beautiful offering goddesses manifest, holding water, flowers, incense, lamps, supreme scents, and food. From the cloud banks of offering, rain falls, delighting the victorious ones of the three times, thereby filling the spheres of realms. I make offerings to the victorious ones of the three times. Light radiates once more from the body of the victorious ones, manifesting parasols, victory banners, draped banners, canopies, musical instruments, garments, precious jewels, medicine, and grains. I offer ocean-like cloud banks of these manifold offerings. The 7 precious royal attributes like the wheel, the 7 subsidiary ones like the mansion, the auspicious substances, the substances of the cities, and so on, have arisen from the 2 accumulations. Please accept these offerings. Furthermore, I behold in my mind and offer to the Protector all offerings throughout the limitless pure lands of the victorious ones that belong to an owner and do not belong to an owner, and all that is worthy to be offered. I offer all pure lands of the victorious ones of the three times, which are the very pure mandalas of the 3 kayas, completely filled with flawless prosperity. Please accept these offerings, you, the Lord of compassion. To you, Protector, I offer my body, speech, and mind, all wealth equal to space without exception, and all the virtues accumulated in the 3 times. Out of compassion, please accept these for the benefit of all sentient beings. By seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and recollecting, Vajra goddesses of form, sound, odor, taste, and tangible objects, the 3 obscurations are purified. I offer the goddesses of the sensual objects to you. Please accept them, immaculate, victorious Lord. The Vajra goddess of body, nature of form, is the supreme goddess of fully purified ignorance. I merge her with the eyes of the Lama, the Lord of the Dharma. Please accept this in the great bliss of non-duality. The Vajra goddess of mind, nature of sound, is the supreme goddess of fully purified hatred. I merge her with the ears of the Lama, Lord of Dharma. Please accept this in the great bliss of non-duality. The Vajra goddess of qualities, nature of odor, is the supreme goddess of fully purified arrogance. I merge her with the nose of the Lama, Lord of Dharma. Please accept this in the great bliss of non-duality. The Vajra goddess of speech, nature of taste, is the supreme goddess of fully purified desire. I merge her with the tongue of the Lama, Lord of Dharma. Please accept this in the bliss of non-duality. The Vajra goddess of activity, nature of tangible objects, is the supreme goddess of fully purified jealousy. I merge her with the body of the Lama, Lord of Dharma. Please accept this in the bliss of non-duality. The Vajra goddess of primordially emptiness of all phenomena, nature of sound, is the supreme goddess of fully purified mind as it is. I merge her with the mind of the Lama, Lord of Dharma. Please accept this in the great bliss of non-duality. I offer means and wisdom inseparable, the supreme victorious one, the 5 families with consorts, the assembly of Viras and Dakinis, and the Buddhas filling the limitless sky. Please accept this great bliss. From the equality of all phenomena, the ocean-like samadhi, oceans of unwavering manifestations arise and guide all beings. Please accept the assemblies of the victorious offsprings, the bodhisattvas who rule all Buddha fields, the ones of great fierce, wrathful, out of immeasurable compassion, showing grinding teeth and fierce faces on their posing bodies. Please accept these wrathful, victorious ones of primordial wisdom, who defeat the hordes of Maras by the roar of Hung and Pet. All manifold clouds of outer, inner, and secret offerings are offered in this vast mandala of Samantabhadra's mind, within the mode of abiding of unchanging non-duality. The unsurpassed offering of suchness is offered. All phenomena are primally and completely pure mind as it is. Within that, whatever confusion, dualistic appearance of oneself and others, distinction of good and bad, hatred and attachment there might be, each and everything I confess, may it be purified within that state. With a happy mind, I rejoice in all the virtues of the victorious ones of the 3 times, of the assemblies of the superior ones, of the unceasing wheel of the 2 accumulations, and of sentient beings. I beseech you, protectors in the worlds of the 10 directions, by completely turning the wheel of stainless Dharma with the sound of ocean-like branches of melodious speech, please ripen all sentient beings without exception. I beseech you, protectors, who abide throughout all the realms, please do not pass into nirvana until the exhaustion of the dhatu of space. Rather, fulfill your commitments by abiding permanently. May all sentient beings be established in the unsurpassed supreme state by this virtue, by the virtues accumulated in the 3 times throughout all samsara and nirvana, and by the undefiled innate virtue, by the light rays of immeasurable great compassion from the palace of body, speech, and mind of the victorious one. Please purify my body, speech, and mind, and thus transform it into your body, speech, and mind. Protector, as you made offerings and delighted the sublime Lama, likewise may I always offer ocean-like clouds of offerings and delight you. May I follow in your footsteps. May I perform limitless activities that do not even waver a hair's tip with respect to the liberation of your body, speech, and mind. May I be renowned in the 3 worlds. Thus may anybody, just by hearing my name or remembering me, be completely liberated from the tormenting suffering, and attain the state of great bliss of the victorious ones. May I turn into any form equal to the expanse of sentient beings, taming them according to their needs. Thereupon may they take refuge joyfully and be established in the unsurpassed supreme awakening. Those ones who are oppressed with shrouds of ignorance, who lost the path, who are threatened by afflicting emotion, such as the henchmen of the Lord of Death, may helplessly remember me and instantly find the supreme path. Becoming the inexhaustible wheel of ornamentation, which is body, speech, and mind of all the victorious ones of the three times, may I completely dry out the ocean of samsara and establish all sentient beings in the unsurpassed supreme state. In all my lives, may I never be separated from the authentic Lama and enjoy the glories of the Dharma. By completely perfecting the qualities of bhumis and paths, may I swiftly attain the state of Vajradhara.
So this morning, my Dharma friends, we are going to go briefly back to yesterday's empowerment text. There, in the end of the empowerment text, there were 4 groups of 3 nails of the view, meditation, conduct, and fruition. And I thought of maybe giving some explanation briefly on the view, meditation, and conduct, since we only spoke about the fruition. So it's important that we understand that, so we do that briefly. And in general, the entire song, this teaching, can also be found in Milarepa's 100,000 songs. Rocco, do you have the Chinese translation of the 12 from the empowerment text yesterday? Yeah, you have that from the empowerment text. It's in the end of the empowerment text. Yeah. Yeah. You got it. Yeah.
Okay. The do song, nang dong dong ye mi sem, doesn't dawan do do the haja tsaki chimori. Dawa de dabeluna. Jactili Tawa, Jactili Deva Tawa, Jactiva Tawa, that was a Sandy, that they are top of top, the top taking word. Jactili Deva Tawa, Shab Tiki, Kangdile. Say that I give us out, say they don't the Kang Chong, the lady Chong, the Sachi was all in still the Bishop with dinner. Legendary one chivalry that the Tatar and they were to do what I would talk about. Trinity, Jactili Deva Shirapatawa, red, Jactili Deva Tawa, the Kang dinner, Tata Demba Nire, good dog with Demba, Julia Havami Bats. Oh, there it, some more call your 동당 그리더니 다지 님에와 동반이 있어. 당도들이나 동당도 동반이 강이 대표고 하고 요래 가고 봐요. 그좀 준비해서 하면 되지. 다 동당이 참 동반이 가래 이제는 다티 디니 성적되는 되는 가라자는 내가 나보다 하고 가라 만족돼 처음에봐 설람나 락촉촉 차응요래 sempre te solo un galato santo ti stava a collo ma te son te mare parece
So it says regarding the view, it says to explain the view in brief. It has 3 nails, and so this just starting line to explain it in brief. That's actually also very meaningful already. So what is the view in brief? We basically have 2 kinds of views. We have the worldly view, and then the view that transcends the mundane. So the mundane or worldly view is the ordinary view of people that only sees this life, and with that view we want to achieve happiness and avoid suffering in this life. And then the view that transcends the mundane, that goes beyond this life. It is a view that sees all future lifetimes and also understands the cause of all the happiness and the suffering that we experience in this life. So here in this view, karma, cause and effect, is very important to understand. Everything is determined by karma. And that means that even though we want to achieve happiness, only through this wish we cannot always achieve it. It depends on our karma. And so then, also according to this view, it is said that the 2 truths are in union. So first we have the relative truth, and that is the unfailingness, the infallibility of karma, cause and effect. So everyone understands that. And then the ultimate truth is that self and other are non-dual. It is emptiness. And that might be a bit more difficult to understand. And that is because there seems to be a contradiction here. So you might wonder that on the one hand we say that karma is unfailing, but then again it is empty. So what does that really mean? Actually, there is no contradiction. The 2 truths are a union, and there is no contradiction. So if you really understand this Buddhist view, you will be free of any doubts, and you will be able to answer any question that is asked. When there is doubt in your mind, then you have not yet fully understood the view. Such a doubtful mind is an ignorant mind.
내가 니지 성적세요. 니지 그래서 난당되나 고독돼 말이. 다산 거기서 무슨 다단지 뭐래지. 나지 뭐래지. 세열라한테 니주니 된 뭐래지. 난 생는 나도 들이 차와다 당한 참지 그래지. 콩알 당한 그래지. 뭐거든 심말라 심말들라 너무 차서. 또 뭐 차지나 동단이现在用的甚至于你啊，你他讲到没打吧，多把你是，那什么差价了多把你是，我那这马上把上这个就定的不打吧的了，就嘛打不的，但空地他就一国家这个人，那会这把打不的是他那话的，你们把你这个要么是，多少都差不多就这个要么是，用他的电把美元了，这些多把你是。다 되는 문제인데 이제 대바다 와는데 다 대도 소화 탐지들이 이제 봐봐요. 매일들이 대들이 다 상제들이 우보양들이 조양들이 잘려서 왔다고 무슨 심하들이 자성나 들이 설류야들이 조왕을 나지들이 배나 형마들이 우보던 심은지 봐도 상승 설류야 상도를 잘려지 제가 따와는 들이 되려 또 Penalty Jetsun Milarepa Gangi Sadang Chang Chigong Kanaya Matava is a Gangi. Second Zimayomari, Zimari, so Hakoso, didn't need to want me by child. Don't want you to stay already. Now I don't want you to the year dinner, oh, Tawa Hakoso. Now it's your time, hold out. United Didi, should I Yomari? Just don't buy it. Non delay. Didi Minnesota watch it. None don't year me something. Tawa Hakoso, oh, now don't hear me. That need some jokes. You didn't talk your me or me didn't talk your to mother parent. You are carried in the case of that in the mystery. Tamaziva, Yamaziva. There not on hear me. Tawa not on Tawan door dinner donna. Tahagan not on hear me chuck your age. So the doctor or last of all, the home needed the chocolate, someone needing Shiba, Shomare, Tawahakona, not on your mate.
So the two truths are actually one, are union. And so here it says, to explain the nail of the view, so everything that appears and exists is included in the mind. In the beginning it says, appearance, emptiness, and indivisibility. These three are the view in brief. So appearance, first there is appearance. And appearance is everything that appears on the relative level in this world. And we believe that what appears is really how it is. It is real. For example, we believe that self and other are real. The entire universe, all beings, all these outer objects, we think that they are real and they exist the way that they appear to us, so they are appearances. And then also we believe in the reality of our inner world, in our mind. All those thoughts and emotions of attachment and aversion that arise, we believe that they are true, that they are real. For example, you believe that someone else has an aversion against you or doesn't like you. So that is appearance. And then secondly, emptiness. Then when you look closer at the appearance, the nature of that appearance, you see emptiness. The entire outer universe and all sentient beings, everything that appears is compounded, impermanent, and will turn into dust in the end. Everything that is impermanent is also empty of self-nature. And likewise, the arisings within the mind are actually empty. They do not really actually exist. And so for the Buddha, this worldly view, this mundane view, these mundane appearances appear just like illusions, or just like clouds in the sky that constantly come and go. Nothing ever stays. Everything is impermanent. So now things appear a certain way. There is the appearance of the 6 realms of samsara, but these are all illusory appearances that come and go, and nothing ever stays the way it is. And because of this nature, ultimately it is empty of self-existence. It constantly changes. And so therefore, knowing that, one does not grasp at whatever appears. So that is the view that transcends the mundane. One does not grasp at all these feelings, these experiences of happiness and suffering, of pleasure and pain, and so on. And this state that is free of all grasping then becomes the state of enlightenment. And then also the body actually transforms. The body then becomes a rainbow body. If there is no more if there is no more grasping at any kind of outer reality or our ideas in our mind that we have about things, when there's no more grasping at anything, then also one's outer body consisting of the 5 elements, the coarse body, the coarse elements of the body dissolve as our fixation to a reality dissolves, and then the body attains a state of the rainbow body, turns into a rainbow body, a state of fearlessness. There's nothing affects one in any way. For example, Milarepa was able to endure so many hardships of hunger and thirst and heat and cold and so on, and nothing could make him afraid. Nothing was daunting to him. Everything was like an illusion to him. There was no fear. There was no fixation in his mind. So that is what we call the indivisibility of appearance and emptiness. So if you really understand the view, this view, then you still perceive phenomenon, and so appearances still manifest, you still perceive appearances, but there is no more grasping at their reality. You realize that these are all empty appearances. So that is the view, the indivisibility of appearance and emptiness, or the union of the two truths. So on the one hand, you could say that things really exist. Things are there. So you could make a case for both, basically. You can say things are there because they are there, but also you can say they're not there because they don't really exist ultimately. So all phenomena lack inherent existence. But according to the correct view, we should not grasp at either existence or non-existence. So that is the view in brief, the indivisibility of appearance and emptiness. So outer objects appear like form, sound, smell, touch, taste, and so on. And if you are free of dualistic grasping, a dualistic perception, then you will also not have not develop a clinging attachment to the true existence of these appearances. And when there is no clinging to them, then you really have understood the view, that is the indivisibility of appearance and emptiness.
매바디나 하고서 뒤집었다가 란지기 차리요. 제일 가는 당고요. 다망시에서 무슨 당고요. 제일 무조 당고요. 무슨 당은 피박가에도 무도는 누바치 뭐요. 제일이 차단을 해서 단 코아들이 차요래 배나 저처럼은 차요래. 다들 의미든지나 강의를 오 의미든지는 진짜 당부 이제서 말아봐. 주마다와 하 고니 드니 제일 남도에 이제 다티 남도디 식성나 드니 레사 그 말이 레데 마사라 드리다 다다디 담시 레파 차에 마시네 드니 망을 레면서 제일들이 다 곰자고르지 하 고니 하 고지 바티 사탕도 이미선 다티 맞아봐 하 고니 곰지 다리를 삼았던 거예요. 살당되는 sem사원데기 뭐도되나 차당 몽송 뉴모 따와 똑바 살우나 제 나고 뜨바도 마지바 사와지 뉴모 중리사 하고서나 다 뉴모바디 미도에 살당 뭐도되나 오 남도데 마지스 디지스 마장치 나도 원어때 나도 동도를 마지 미도를 해 sartangs mato yumi sartang mato yumi gondila shi jibangal ta na to kare shanatri ti sawo ha kone ti kajin se mai na to sem zwa de ba jul tin zwa de ba chowa de me partans sartang mato yumi son tata goma gom de tata tsum tata ndu yore yama saloma motango sepsa ode o shedang ho shedang ti jungles kakarte yo payok shedang yawe ji ma ha kon de she ma boma ja shedang khol jaret tikjawo ko ro marte ka jena de sosa ne bayo ma perte yumi de tata sartang mato yumi son goma do de son semmayang 받은 돈은 너도 또 타고요 해서
So the view is the indivisibility of appearance and emptiness, and we can say that things are here because they are there before us, but then we can also say that things are not here because they are like illusions. And so, for the most part, between those two biased views of existence and non-existence, for the most part, we tend to be tied down by our belief in a true existence. So, because we believe in the truth of our perceptions, that belief actually causes the greatest harm. And it is because of this belief that things exist the way they appear to us that we develop many thoughts of attachment and aversion. And it is really therefore this belief that actually creates samsara, that makes the mind be like an ice block. So first, we need to see that on the basis, things lack any inherent existence. Everything is just like an illusion. And then also the inner thoughts arising are like illusions. So if you let them go, then you will not accumulate karma. And if you do not accumulate karma, then you will not form any habitual imprints in your mind. And so that becomes the basis then for meditation. So first you need to understand this view, and then the view that knows that things lack inherent existence and are empty. And then you come to the meditation, and it says clarity, non-thought, and non-distraction. These three are the meditation in brief. So when you meditate, then, once you have understood the view, when you meditate, then there is no need to think about each thing that appears to you, each object or thought that appears to you. There's no need to analyze it. You just sustain a state of clarity and non-thought. So the mind is clear, and non-thought means that all these thoughts that arise in our mind, attachment, aversion, ignorance, all the afflicted thoughts and emotions that arise, are seen like clouds in the sky. And you just let them be without holding on to them, clinging to them. And when a negative emotion arises, you recognize its fault. And then you let it go and it disappears. So non-thought means that thoughts do arise, but you do not cling to those thoughts. You do not pursue those thoughts. You just observe them, their essence, and then let them be, and they will dissolve on their own. So that is the meditation. You sustain a state of clear awareness, and within such a state, whatever thought arises, you clearly recognize it, and you sustain that state of non-distraction, this clarity, this state of clarity with non-distraction, and without any distraction. That means without distraction means whatever arises continuously, you do not grasp at it. And then the feeling will go away. So you let go of all of those feelings that arise within the mind. So the meditation in brief is summarized in those 3 words, just 3 words: clarity, non-thought, and non-distraction. And that is all that we need, those 3 words. And that means there is no need to think about anything else, to fabricate any other kind of meditation. It is just be clear, do not grasp, and do not be distracted. And there's no need to think about anything else. So, for example, when anger arises, when you get angry, first you're already mindful. So then the anger arises in mindfulness, and as it arises, you recognize instantly the fault in the anger. You know that the anger is the cause for falling into hell. And then there is no need for much conceptualization, much thinking, much explanation about that. You just recognize it, you know it is a fault, and then you just let it go without thinking much about it. And then it doesn't, what the other person has done to you that triggered this anger actually does not affect you in any way. No matter what other people say or do, you won't even think about that. You just recognize the anger, and the next moment you let it go. And that is the meditation in brief. With a mind that is undistracted, you sustain a state of clarity that doesn't grasp at anything. And so that state of non-distraction can destroy any kind of thought that arises.
Madarva, that take over carrying Macha, Majin, Rubasan, doesn't do under the so Macha Majina, Tajitawatiki, Lontu, Tero, Juba Karichiana, years Zambon, oh, Tango, the Senator Chapati, Chabari is Tokyo. Oh, been a Kalashimon, the Sari. Oh, that's my Chapati, the artist, Chodri, Karasa Choversa, Chapati, the Hawk was on the Chapati, that's we almost sent part over it. Macha, Majindi, the Shimba Chang, Macha Major was reward and the Karin, two chocolate sent in the Chovati, they can make Macha, Major was the Cheruji, they carried the Unga long to become the Senator Pachava. The Kubareson, she was our only don't take a simple Bacha Yata Maya, Te Sorrow, or Tibacha, not a young to go to some, but chop the Bacha Yata, sorry, Tibacha, the young down the sense of the Tona, Tonas of the guitar of your simple not body there to be on
So you have understood the view that is non-duality, and then meditation is to never separate from the clarity of your mind. And then conduct, it says it is non-attachment, non-clinging, and unbound ease. These three are the conduct in brief. So once you have understood the view, you are bringing that view into your conduct in whatever you do. For example, it says here non-attachment. If you see a very pleasant object that you think you want, a feeling of attachment arises and you recognize it. For example, you're eating some good food that you really like. So the point is that you can still eat the food, there's nothing wrong with eating it, but you have to be fully aware of what is happening in your mind when you do so, what feeling arises. So it is fine to enjoy any of the sense pleasures, but you have to recognize what arises in your mind, and you recognize the attachment that arises. And when you really see it clearly, it cannot stay. It will go away. And then you are in a state of complete, it says, unbound ease, a state of complete relaxation that does not cling at all. So then you can enjoy anything. But whatever you enjoy does not really generate a feeling within you. And so then when there is no feeling of clinging and so forth and grasping, then as you enjoy the sense pleasures, the mind just remains in a very relaxed state. And in this way, even though you do enjoy any of the 5 sense pleasures, you are not forming habitual imprints. So that is the conduct that you engage in with a clear mind. So you need to be very clear how those imprints actually are placed in your mind. You need to be fully aware of how that really happens. It happens when you think that I want this again, for example, then there's this an imprint, a habitual pattern. And then you think about this again and again, and this is this imprint that you're feeling. But then if your mind is very clear and this imprint arises, then you recognize it. And if you recognize it clearly, then actually instantly it becomes purified. Because it is not possible for there to be 2 thoughts at the same time in the mind, so they can't stay together. So once you recognize it, then the imprint feeling, this thought goes away. So regarding the conduct, there's actually a lot to be said about that. In one of Milarepa's teachings, he speaks about the 6 gates of equal taste. And so this equal taste is not very easy to practice. But it begins with, with recognizing every afflictive emotion that arises. So feeling, each and every feeling that arises, you recognize it and you let it go, it becomes released into a state of equal taste. And Dzogchen Rinpoche had also actually taught his disciples in this way, the equal taste. So first he would give a disciple teachings on meditation, and after that he would send them off to an empty place to practice. And then he would send somebody else there to provoke their anger, to provoke them a little bit. The provoker would then ask, so what are you really practicing here? Shouldn't you be practicing patience? And so then every time that happens, then the practitioner would be really embarrassed. And so then it would happen again and again. So he would meditate, and again this person shows up and triggers his anger. And then he would meditate again. And so in this way, they train their mind again and again in meditation. So this is how we meditate. Something that triggers our anger, or we have to in a way bring it up to the surface so that we can recognize it. And so then when we recognize the anger or the afflictive emotion, only then can we let it go and release it into this state of equal taste. So actually, the way to really practice this is we need to actually deliberately bring it up again and again. And we need to trigger or bring up our afflictive emotions and then recognize them again and again, and then let them go again and again. And then eventually they become weaker and weaker and don't affect you so much anymore. They affect you less and less. Those afflictive emotions are like wood, and the awareness that recognizes them is like fire. So first, the fire is not very strong, just maybe like an incense fire, just a little spark. So first, you recognize the more subtle afflictive emotions and let them go. And then you habituate to that. You let go each and every subtle affliction, and then eventually you will also be able to deal with the more coarse afflictions. So at some point you will be able to just let go even very intense, very powerful emotions. So this is how we actually need to practice. Practice means that we need to bring the view and our meditation and that we have learned into our daily conduct. So practice means to apply the application in our daily lives, in our daily conduct. So it means that first you do understand the view, and you understand the method of meditation, but the actual practice then is to apply that in your daily life, in your day-to-day conduct. And only if you actually apply it in your daily life and you deal with these emotions, only then meditation will actually develop. And eventually, nothing makes a difference to you any longer. Everything becomes the same. Then you are content with whatever is there. And until that happens, we have to practice this, trying to practice this experience of equal taste in our daily lives, in our conduct.
Devata dungi gang chokore de devali chung yore dungi chokore echi dungi de shaung kambi tiri chotchimbo yore kaptiri tiri lani sodima zona gebe long chu do jase las dungi tiri gong shokchire no gore ta ti dabji dungi tani jeshi o dungi ngni pengadots dungi de semti shokchibo na to toro 이 감이 뭐 다시 손을 빼 뉴모가 맞지네 다와 찍을 검자래 뉴모 맞지네 최종적으로 검자인데 맞지서 대회는 대사원한테 용탈 지독지가 체험해 봐다 속바르대 소로제 대화하는 동네는 지독지가 체험해 봐야라 드리더니 다들이 냐미시부터 다들 지독지가 체험해 봐야는 고말롱도 줘봐서 말이 비해서 말이 속바지 봐대 내가 용란데 동네는 그 쳐봐매 다 루루제 대 저걸 딜 속바 대 송고요 마찬가지 속바서면서
And so here this term, unbound ease, that's actually very, very meaningful. So for a practitioner, actually between happiness and suffering now, what is actually like a friend, like a support in our practice? Actually, pleasure and our happiness is a fault for a practitioner, and suffering or pain is a support for one's practice. And that is because when there are difficulties, when we are in a difficult circumstance that triggers a painful feeling, then that feeling is very powerful. And that needs to come up so we can practice. In the 37 practices, for example, it says at this time, when this feeling arises, to those who desire a wealth of virtue, all those who do harm are like a precious treasure. So it is actually through suffering that our meditation develops and becomes stronger. So therefore, when suffering arises, then suffering is actually the greatest benefit to one's practice. It is because of these difficult circumstances that very powerful feelings and thoughts arise in our mind. And when a true practitioner will recognize them and will let them go. So someone who really has some experience in meditation, actually it is said that if you are able to practice with your anger and your emotions that arise in your daily life, then it is 1 hour of practice of that is far more powerful than to practice peacefully alone for 1 month in retreat where no afflictive emotions are being triggered. That is actually not so powerful for a practitioner. And so in the end, if you keep overcoming those afflictions, then there is no more difference between happiness and suffering. Everything becomes the same. And that is this state of unbound ease. And that is a sign that one is actually practicing, a sign of practice. Milarepa said that when there is no more difference between happiness and sadness or suffering, then you have mastered meditation. So this unbound ease, when you reach the state of unbound ease, it is a state where nothing makes a difference anymore. There is no difference between happiness and suffering. It is a state of just complete relaxation. So that's the conduct: non-attachment, non-clinging, and unbound ease.
Chuko longo choko so dasam jeo doji so tritata sanji kompa tamna chuko longo choko somji te same ha ko yore tin jeo ka so rang sem de chuko de sem nerok tel tomedri chuko longo choko so saungji yore ha ko na tin mo tong man na kha ta te chuko ko saore tri rangi sawi shi de 동바 하공이 시바사오데 롱고 사우데레스 드리티르데리 또소데 또라더니 소소리 대체 뭐 요래 마도바 당코스 지탑들 동네 요래 또는 대화다 마도로 동네 요래 지탑들 라기 그 동네지 참아라들이 사바서 체베바 드리 이제 체베바 동네 라기 지탑들 라기 이제 뭐만 매번 오, 그 라기가 제가 차병 보여래. 몇 번에 배신게서. 먹기는 게 먹기는 게 먹기는 게라고 배나 제가 요사서 배나 진지지요래. 배나로 받으러 강의 쳐보소나. 소화가요 말이 어찌들 소소고 파마 빈자 저거는 뒤로 받으러다 매솔. 저랑 하거든요. 저번에 요래 소소라 좋아지러 왔다 보지 요래 아를 맞을 까만 저런 무슨 호바 설레서 왔다들 영우 요래 때문에 다티 다니지 다가 중테리 대요는 요런들이 서로 파마와에 직접 요 말에 람스로 바칸 강에서 직접 마상 것들이 다 뭐밤에 pensi게 제요래 로바 강에서 뒤쳐와지 선생님을 요래 데르데르 뭐밤에 pensi게 특기 끊어 잡아야 돼 들이 조금 좀 요래 조박들이 사지 조박 탐지들이 추가 데레 사와트 뭐 사와트 라랑지 특기 끊어 잡아야 돼 이렇게 조금 좀 요래 조금 남아서 대하고서는 랑그 생물부터 사무대 참도 없어 하고서는 들은 제가 대래해서
Then it says Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya. These three are the fruition in brief. So when we attain the state of Buddhahood, then we attain the state of the three kayas, the Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya. So most are familiar with those terms. So we speak about that in terms of the fruition, but also we must recognize that the seeds of those three kayas are already complete within one's own mind. The empty essence of the mind that is like space is the seed of the Dharmakaya. And the naturally clear awareness that knows its own empty nature, this clear awareness is the seed of the Sambhogakaya. When you realize this, you experience a state of great bliss. But then you also know that all sentient beings in samsara who have not realized this, they still suffer. So when you realize it, you experience great bliss. Not realizing it, one suffers. So knowing that, then great love and boundless compassion for all those sentient beings who have not realized this then arises. And this is a natural state of love. It just is naturally present. It requires no object. The compassion is unconditional, unobjectified. It is all pervasive. There's two kinds of compassion. There is the objectified and the unobjectified compassion. The objectified compassion is related to a certain object. So you have compassion for a certain being, for example, that you are connected to. For example, if you just hear about some place in the world that has some kind of disaster, then normally you don't really feel anything special about that. But then if you hear that the place where your parents live, there's a fire broke out, then you feel that my parents are there. I wonder if something will happen to them. Actually, that's sometimes how I feel myself too. When something happens in a certain place in the world, then I always wonder if one of my disciples is there. But that also in a way is a form of self-grasping. It's really the fault of the self, this concept of a self. Actually, all the beings without exception have been our parents. And therefore, when that is habituated, then no matter where there is any difficulty, when you hear about any country that experiences some disaster, there is no need to think about particular places and so on. There is no actual thought about it. There's just this natural, ongoing state of unobjectified, all-pervasive compassion. So this feeling of compassion is just naturally there. And that quality is called the all-pervasive compassion from which the Nirmanakaya arises. So from the Dharmakaya expands, the clarity of the Sambhogakaya arises, and then from that, different various forms of Nirmanakayas then manifest. So if you understand that, then you know that although we speak about the fruition, actually the three kayas are complete within my own mind, just like seeds.
Ni se me ba ta ba tong yo me ba gom ba tong song de jo ba tong ni se me ba ta tong tin la pan na wa se no ta je se mi tong ba ta je ni ni se me ba de da yi ni me ba ta tin pa ni se me na tri yang ta de la ta wa de le Doctor Sacheta, Jung, Justin, Tapartava, Telekashi, Tony, the Tawa, the young Tony, the Tawa. Oh, Tata Chica Mela or a Carissa Troyore. Now, Chitan, you call or Toya, do Carissa Troyore. Oh, the teaching, dear, you watch. 생고 내려 하마고 제일 뉴모 뭐지 제가 지 로버로 박차더니 너한테 다더니 하고 그래 제외지는 문에 따와 들더니 니스 매바잖아 그냥 메시지라도 제대로 따와 가네 나와 고아가 하고 전에 문에 고자고 가네 요바야만지 매바야만지 깨야만지 생고 내려 고라시던 내일 감장원이 나도 대차로 나도 막사도 싸우고 생내로 등하다는 가리창나 잠봉이 가요 menzi바지 그리고 뭐 따와지 롱다를 바뀌나 봐도 뭐 따와지 그 사기 독지 삼신ኛ민게 그렇게 되는 파비올에 그리고 뭐 따와다 롱다를 바뀌는 파비알이 뭐 따와지 뭐 따와가리 직담은 세부세로 다 세부세로 되는 So, don't know how to say, you child, over you should get there. These on territory, thought it, needs me, but I don't. Tell me, tongue dog, Medoki. I young my own captain, your money, my own center, Saturn Nakata, take me the Kakayo, the Sarah and the Tomatomo and the Sawa. 대도 하고 있으면 왔다고 또 영화미 봐 고모도 딱벌었지 제 sem마인과 sem싸고 되나 내고요리 영 지금 내일 갈 팬이요리 있으면 왔다고 또 영화미 봐 고모도 송대 좀 와줘 또 송 여기나 남또 영모 갈 샤르나 하고서는 파티 직진인 세살로마당 파야야를 쳐다보면 매일을 그래 송대 좀 가지고 송족이나 나도 송족 직접 삼모마다 원자와의 송족지 제르트는 송대 좀 가지고 동무지 요런 가능한 트리타리 공을 속와시 바테라 니 통다지 저 와서 봐들 싸워대 대래 송대 좀 가지고 동무서
Then it says non-duality is the ultimate view. So the ultimate view of non-duality is realized first by recognizing that all appearances are one's own mind, and then that this mind itself is emptiness, empty of self-nature. So the ultimate view is the non-duality of self and other. And so in terms of views, there is basically two mistaken views, the eternalistic and the nihilistic view. The most worldly beings, people, hold on to the eternalistic view. And then there is some who hold the nihilistic view and think that nothing exists and they deny the workings of karma and so on. But then, if nothing really exists, then why are things here? Why can we see all these phenomena, all these appearances of this world, all that appears and exists? So it is explained that everything arises interdependently. And if one doesn't understand the nature of one's own mind, afflictive emotions arise, and momentarily, as they arise, we hold on to them and we form habitual imprints that do not actually exist inherently. So one who realizes, who knows the nature of the mind, knows that these are just temporary arisings, and all these imprints in our mind are actually do not exist. They are like illusions. In the Mahamudra teachings it says, without a single thought, look decisively at what lies beyond the mind, this surface mind. So that is something we first need to understand, and then through practice we need to actually apply it. And that means to not cling to anything, existence or non-existence. You just stay in this natural state of clarity without developing any thought. You just stay in this clear state, and if a thought arises, you do not label it. as good or bad and so forth. There is just no grasping, no clinging to whatever arises. And that actually, this point of non-grasping, that is the way in which the Madhyamaka, middle way view, resolves the ultimate nature of mind. So it is resolved through the various forms of logical reasoning in the scriptures, but the essence is to not grasp. And then there are the methods of the Mahamudra and the Dzogchen traditions, where we realize the view based on a personal experience and practice. So according to the middle way, the Madhyamaka, it is said, do not grasp at anything whatsoever, at nothing. Just look at your mind. Mind looks at itself with clarity. And then it becomes clear and empty like space just naturally. So it is the natural state of the mind already. We are not actually making it that way. It already is that state. You're already in that state. And so within that state, there is no dualistic grasping, naturally. There is no existence or no non-existence. So within that view, there is no separation. All is a state of great unity, a oneness. So even though we speak about clarity and emptiness, they are not two separate things in union. They are actually a state of oneness. The nature of clarity is emptiness, and the nature of emptiness is clarity. So that's the real meaning of the non-dual view. And so the meditation is, it says, non-duality is the ultimate view. Non-distraction is the ultimate meditation. So just always sustain a state of non-distraction, being non-distracted from a state of clarity. So what is the benefit actually of being in such a state? So the benefit is experienced then in the conduct, and it says their union is the ultimate conduct. So this term union here, the union which is the ultimate conduct, so you, in your conduct, in your activities, your daily activities, you recognize whatever thoughts and emotions arise. And when it arises, you do not think about it further. It is not that one thought leads to another. There is no development of a chain of thoughts. It just arises, and then you let it be, and then it dissolves just like a wave on water on its own. So that is the union. It is the union of appearance and emptiness. There is the appearance of a thought, but there is no thought about it. You just let it be. And that is basically the view of the middle way, the Madhyamaka, this unified state. So whatever activity you engage in your daily conduct, this view, practicing in this view, brings you to this state of complete ease, complete relaxation. It is when the mind is sustained, the clarity of mind is sustained, then naturally you find yourself in this state of unbound ease. And then it says, these three are the ultimate fruition. So these three, the view, the meditation, and the conduct, the purpose of practicing the proper view, meditation, and conduct is in order to realize the nature of the mind. Then it says, the view has 3 nails, meditation has 3 nails, conduct has 3 nails, and fruition has 3 nails. So why do we call it a nail? For example, if you want to hang up a tangkam, you need a nail. And then it will always stay there, it won't fall down. So a nail in this context means it is a crucial, a vital point. It is an essential point. That is why it is a nail. So those 3, the view, meditation, conduct, there are essential points to it.
지 때마다 참아들이 샘지와에 딱 못돼 대 취지자와 마주 샘지자와 조성 드니 사진 가면은 동보지 야가마다 동보지 자게 스페셜하게 되네 혼디니가 샘지게 요리지 강이 샘사동난 거다버데 임피를 오단 제성나 다과 사지가 거당 시간 차도 요리 야 나디다 전에들 마다만 도와도 차를 빼는 동보디 야지와티 내가 토리선 타소 사지에 공방 참아 샘성월에 샘지치 바래 야 나디다 전에 마사와 살아서로 도와도 내가 들지 레박차데 마저 바들이 양도를 내가 답을 내가 말때 이마다리 너한테 니 혼데 니 자와 샘리샤서 다음에 양상형도 싸우다 당연히 대리에서 다 조선들이 다도讨论 당시 샘선들이다서 지책들 거는 대리에서 세우게 대리 처음에 차원거리 당시 샘선들 대리 대 맞춰버려 딱지에 따르데 딱지에 따르면 다도 다 조들 다도 다 맞추나 그때 다 이놈은 태성용 거를
Then to explain the 3 nails of the view, first it says everything that appears and exists is included within the mind. So in this world we have light, energy, and it is this light that gets everything moving, everything big and small. It powers everything. And that is an example of the mind. And what is the root of the mind? When you're without any thought, then the mind in its natural state is like space, clear and empty. That is the nature of the mind. It is said that you should not cut the root of phenomena or inquire into all phenomena, but you should cut the root of the mind. In the Garchen Mahamudra, it also speaks of this big tree, and it says you should not cut the foliage of the tree, but cut the tree at the root. So all phenomena of samsara and nirvana arise from this mind. That is like space, clear and empty. And if this mind becomes infused with altruism, then the limitless Pure Lands and Buddha manifestations will appear. And if this mind connects to self-grasping, then the impure states of the 6 realms will manifest. So it is just like one big tree. The upper parts of the tree are the 3 higher realms and the ultimate state of Buddhahood. All is connected to one tree, one trunk, one basis. And the lower parts of the tree are connected to self-grasping, the lower realms, the 6 realms of samsara, the samsaric states. And those karmas and imprints, those habitual imprints that arise, they are not our true nature. They only arise temporarily until they become exhausted. They will not always stay. They appear just like illusions. So the root of samsara and nirvana is the mind. And that is basically the view that we need to understand. When you think about this view again and again, eventually you come to some kind of certainty where you know this is really how it is. So when you hear these words then, for example, that everything that appears and exists is the mind, then instantly you will know, you will understand this is how it really is. And there is no doubt about that in your mind. And until that, you have to practice to really resolve the view, to decide upon the view. For as long as we have not decided upon the view, we will always have doubts arising in our mind.
Salame tatri ratuki mentongi shiva chigi or sibisalum da dena not on de banga mango machiri salame cemetery sede kashi not on tongo kashi ravsen not on me besem tongo yore sibisalum da telling zong me bada sibu de you laptop mari 남칸이 tiktok 타고 말이 매일 laptop 말이 기사로 시바사기 때 사동성 적대들이 상제심이 야될 잡은 걸 빼. 자본은 통을 때는 통을 네 생기도 요 년도부터 될 주바다 잡아서 될 무정에 받아서 심사하고 될 무정 도구도
And then secondly, the second nail of the view is mind itself is the continuous nature of clarity. So now look at your mind, meditate, and see how is my mind. And look with great clarity. There is this brilliantly clear mind. There is this consciousness that there's one who hears all the sounds and who sees all the forms. And it is the same awareness that experiences everything. And stay with that with clarity. And you will come to a moment where all thoughts stop and no other thought arises. Then you experience this state between thoughts that is pristinely clear, and just experience that. And when people look at their mind, people have different experiences. Some see many thoughts, and some experience a thought-free state. And whatever it is, the mind, this clarity of mind is something, your clarity, this knowing, is something that is, you cannot grasp it, you cannot find it. You cannot say that it's there because there's nothing really there. It's like space. But you can also not say there's nothing there because you're fully clear and aware, you're conscious. So there's something there. And that's this union of clarity and emptiness. For example, you're drinking a sip of your tea. It is this awareness that is doing all of that, this clarity. It is there, but it is without any elaboration. We cannot really identify it or call it anything. So it is unidentifiable, this clear nature of the mind.
Shene gomdi langtong de o namto be semte ngo shim shi ba sa wote ta de gong go gombe je sun xie za na namto chu ju go da ru ba sa ru ma de da ma ti lo ba li ja ba da 남도 지거다들 남도 되라 덴바랑 맞지 덴바야 맞지 남도 태가 봐야야라 이 초등학교에 시험조에 거기 초락해 조금 말이야 생분들 박차요 말이야 지금 남도 같이 있기나들이 남도 하는 거랑 생분랑 남도 초등학교도 하고는 들 남도 강제 그 말이야 내와요 남도 동네요 남도 제가 남도 지거다 송 마키자 버리자 버렸다 송 르파사리 강데라 르파데라 티시키 시바데서 오라 속성 대고래 딱곰 싸와 때와데리 족신게 실그랑 속바서라지 르파데 촉하는 가리 유모 부지선 장리 들이 베나 미들 고소롱나 다 아직 잡다죠 코그 알아 누가 당신을 딱 속체를 저걸 제랑세 다 나지지 용어 싸워 콩크지 알아지 다진이지는 드리드 방랑이로 대만이 봐야 유모의 샤마타다 유모의 샤마타디 직접 말이네 내 유모말이 나이 직접은 유모말이 시계 지금 내한테 신한테 뒤편에 빼는 세상은 나도 직접 매바 차로 세상을 떠들래. 무슨 세상 뭐 어떻게 세상을 팽개거려야지. 지금은 내절 때 일부 검사를 내서 그랬대. 그 세상에서 맞아 버렸대. 들이 싸우고 그래. 들이 대결 들이 서로 여기 쭉 세미잖아. 들이 세상 제를 놓고 그러면 직접 마셔 세상을 서로 감자들이 유명한 차때 르파사딩하다 르파사응하다 소 진나도 처와 능력으로 파상 나선때 매사를 그 하자 센서하고 저를 과사응하다 마트쇼 빠르다 오디 쉬어서 뛰다 보자 네 촉을 강제고 말이 단네 하장 강제 버려야지
And so now, this is how you understand the nature of the mind. And so then once you have understood the nature of the mind, and then this understanding must be habituated to. So you have recognized this clear awareness that recognizes all the thoughts arising, and that has to be habituated through meditation. So then we practice calm abiding and insight, and through that we recognize all of the afflictive emotions and thoughts that arise. So we must habituate in what we have learned, what we have seen. So to explain the 3 nails of meditation, first it says, thoughts are dharmakaya. So when a thought arises, do not grasp at it. Do not believe that it is true or not true. Just don't grasp at it in any way. It arises, and as it arises in a very direct way, instantly, you let it be. And if you let it be, it will dissolve on its own like a wave on water naturally. And then no further karmic imprint is formed in your mind. And then it doesn't matter how many thoughts or afflictions arise, because you then recognize that the nature of these thoughts is the mind. The thoughts are also your mind, like the waves on water. And if you know that, then these thoughts will not cause any discomfort any longer. All thoughts of happiness are just a thought, and suffering is also just a thought, and thoughts are dharmakaya. So thoughts are dharmakaya, and secondly, innate awareness is the continuous nature of clarity. So this innate awareness, meditation is to sustain clear awareness with stability. In the Dzogchen teachings, it says, do not lose the stability or the seat, the stability of clear awareness. So how do we lose it? We lose it if we follow our thoughts and our afflictions, our emotions. For example, a person makes you angry. You get angry at someone. The reason why you get angry is because you want to protect yourself. So the afflictive emotion is supported or kind of backed up by this concept of I, self. So you're thinking that he is insulting me. And if you think in this way, then the anger, so when your focus is on the person, for example, who triggered your anger, then the anger becomes only stronger. You develop it more. So the root of all afflictive emotions is self-grasping. So it is all supported by this I. He's doing this or that to me. So instead of doing it this way, the moment anger arises, instantly as it arises, do not think about anything at all. Think about nothing. Just recognize this is an affliction. I am afflicted. Just recognize that without thinking myself or the other person and so on. So you just stay within that state of knowing that there is an afflictive emotion. You stay in that state of clearly just knowing that without any other thought. And that clarity will cause the thought of anger to dissolve, to disappear. For example, I myself have also actually been a quite hot-tempered person. I've had a lot of anger. And actually, I can say that anger actually, its arising is really very beneficial. It really has to arise. And when it arises, you can recognize it and then stay with it in this recognition of it without thinking about it. And then you stay until the anger has disappeared. And as it disappears in such a way, then it has become weaker already. And the mind is much more clear than it was before. On the other hand, if you have just one thought about this object or whoever triggered your anger, then instantly your anger increases. So this is how we practice with the afflictive emotions. They arise, and you don't think about them at all. There's no thought about it. And then when you just remain within that state of recognition, of clarity, then any kind of thought or feeling or resentment and feeling of discomfort and so on will all just naturally be cleared away on its own. And when it is cleared away, the mind remains even more clear than before. It is very, very clear. So in brief, it is this clarity is what we need to maintain. That's really all we need to do. There's nothing else that needs to be done. So that is a really very important point.
The casa cara yore di no tegina ripasar digan da deva che sordi yore ripasar digan da de te kale nam to de shaunde jorson chugo시 봐도 오 거라고 착해요 말이 조르지 봐도 생도 처음에 동반이를 받고 차로 요래서 사동을 차서 생 화장 조 차한 거래 맨 세상의 진이 기목에 타봐如果阳光这차用걸 제를 빠싸 디는 다서 이 책대우는 양대 대화를 내오나 과 때다 야도로 요리 책이나는 대요리 더 가사카요리 된다디 유는 더 가서 건 거리잖아 맨나 말하지 봐 마발로도 정선 로쪽 담통 제일 나와 제일 되는 들리지니 다 살짝 뭐고 냠내 제일 되는 게 하등 유를 보고 거리다 네 사도 무슨 피 가래통나 돈 다다 제제 마도 좀 말해 내가 샤르 조르트 뉴뭐 샤르 와디 나도 샤스가 하고는데 처음 철셔야지 성욕되지 처음에 저기 가까이 다다이 처음 저도 저 가까 말아 니스 매바디 디코아데 차르데 아유는 뭐 cep이 가래통나 때 저거 핀바치 뭐요래 다다 제들이 미소자 들리 가두니 조람 탐지는 공야 되지
The innate awareness is the continuous nature of clarity. So about innate awareness or Rigpa, there's a lot of teachings in various and other contexts. But the way we understand this continuous nature of clarity also here is that now when a thought arises, it is liberated upon arising. And when it is liberated upon arising, it is the Dharmakaya, it becomes the Dharmakaya. Becoming the Dharmakaya doesn't mean that it becomes like nothing or solid, something, you become like a statue or something. But it means that it is something that happens within the mind, and that is the feeling disappears in the mind. The feeling has dissolved. And all that remains in your mind is this state of clarity and emptiness. And that is a very joyful state. So when the thought is liberated, then what remains is this state of perfect happiness. And that is why when anger, for example, has gone away, and often we can really laugh about it. And even the body seems very light, and awareness is very clear. So this clear awareness is maybe hard to understand, and also is explained in other places, but like a good way to understand this clear innate awareness is in relation to the experience of bliss or a happiness. And this is what really arises when it is present. And so then, regarding how long that is to be practiced, when Milarepa practiced under Marpa, he first spent 6 years and 8 months in his presence, and then finally was introduced to Mahamudra and recognized Mahamudra. So it takes a very long time. One needs to practice for a very long time. Whatever instruction you have received, either from the Mahamudra teachings or Dzogchen or the middle way, any instructions on the nature of the mind that you have received has to be practiced in this way for a long time until you achieve the state of arising and liberation occurring simultaneously. And so that is when awareness is very clear, then whatever affliction arises is instantly melted, just like an ice block in water. So first it appears that the ice and the water are separate, but actually when the ice has melted, there is no division between the ice and water any longer. They are non-dual. So this needs to be practiced for a very long time. So any instruction that you have received on the nature of the mind is of the same benefit, but it needs to be practiced for a long time. So now we will take a break, and at that time, and then also in all your other daily activities, this is the thing, this is the practice that needs to be engaged in. This is our meditation.